Survivor, and when the show ends, you really want to talk about it with like-minded friends. It might be hard to find some, but don't you shed a tear. Check out the Purple Rock Podcast, and this is what you'll hear. John will make some dumb jokes, and he likes to yell and curse, and if they're not available, the backup hosts are so much worse. Spend the whole time being jerks, telling you you're wrong, and so we got this other jerk to sing you our theme song. It's the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast.
Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast. I am John, my co-host is Andy, and we are talking the Survivor 46 finale. Christmas has been canceled. We're all fake millionaires. I'm reaching the end of my artificially imposed 30-second time limit intro, and I still haven't. I was going to talk about NBA players. Oh, shit. I was trying to. I figured like you'd want some references to NBA players. It wasn't clear if that was.
No, I don't care that this is a venue specifically designed for listening to people talk. I am going to impose artificial limits. Anything I can do to make this about me. Now, so it's clear, and it probably already is for everybody, one-way street on that one. I, of course, am not subject to any kind of time or rules. But you, my friend, keep it to 30 seconds.
So just to be clear, like you can just decide when and where I get to talk, but in the reverse, I can't like come back at you in any way.
Correct. Not if you want my vote.
I understood. Yeah. That seems fair. Yeah. You know, as far as I understand how equality and fairness work.
That's right. And it does not matter, John, for how long you've been my ride or die, which I think that was 10 years, apparently.
I can't believe that.
I will fuck you up when it comes to voting.
Hey, did you enjoy that Survivor episode?
You know what? Not really. Honestly. No. I didn't like leave like pissed. There was no like miscarriage of justice or anything like that, but like it was predictable to start, right? Like they made no attempt because there was no real attempt they could hide of like, wow, the first vote was going to go. We already kind of knew before the episode started how fire making was going to go. I think the end result, not predictable at all the way through. Like I felt like that one was up in the air, and we'll get into this more, and I'm going to let you talk about whether you liked it, but like the way the final tribal played out, and I don't mean the result. I'm happy with the result. The winner was one of my favorite players of the season. I'm not going to get upset about that, but like the tribal itself left kind of a bad taste in my mouth. So that, and we'll talk about it more. So it's like, I don't think I did enjoy the finale. I didn't hate it, but it's like, I didn't hate. I don't think I liked it. How about you?
I thought it was a very fitting end to this.
Yes, that is accurate.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it goes along with how the rest of the season has gone in that, like, the standard expectations of Survivor were often subverted. Right? Like you would expect, when, say, someone gets an immunity idol, they might play said idol. Well, nope, apparently not. Right? Like, and similarly, you go to a final tribal council and you're like, I understand how this is going to go. They're going to all ask questions. I think I know roughly who's going to get whose vote because, we've been talking about big resumes and, I see they're going to like talk all about resumes. People are going to respect that. This is how votes are going to go. No, that is not really how the votes went, which, it felt very much on the same vibe as the rest of the season.
Yeah. I like the challenges of the episode. I thought both of them had, unique and interesting things. But, if I'm sitting here talking about challenges and finale already, that's like, okay, if we're already at the challenges, we're good though. Yeah.
There's going to be some controversy with that challenge. We'll have to discuss later.
But like the ideas behind the challenges themselves were clever and refreshing. But
Sure.
yeah, like a lot of
I
it
love
was
a
just
Plinko.
like a lot of the episode, the first part of the episode, and again noted, 3 hours long. Like this is like watching Dune, but instead it's this show and watching, an obvious sweep vote and obvious, like again, yeah. So not the best finale, but I do agree completely with your assessment. Meant that like, yeah, this might not have been the finale we wanted, but it's the one we deserved or whatever, the Batman quote is.
Yeah. I can't believe you would mess up a Batman quote.
Yeah, I have seen that
You seem the
movie a
type.
few times, but
Right? You like movies, you like Batman. I feel like that's something you could stick with.
I mean, maybe I did get it. Comments, send us a fan mail. So let's get into the final
Get to some of
tribal
those.
because that's kind of where like I was legitimately kind of angry as it was happening. Again, I want to make clear, not the result. At this stage, I don't know what the result is. Heading into Final Tribal, I'm like, this is a toss-up. I think either Kenzie or Charlie could win. As it's happening, I'm like, now, by the time the council was over, I'm like, I think it's Kenzie, but I didn't feel strongly about it. And I think that's all fair. Like, it was a 5-3 vote, right?
Yeah.
But like the behavior of the jury themselves kind of made me angry and also like really helped crystallize. And I think this plays into what you were saying about how it was fitting for this season. Like the season as a whole, and not in a good way. And it becomes this weird balance because what we've enjoyed about this season to the degree that we've enjoyed it, and which is largely we've been entertained, right? It's like these people were very entertaining because they were almost to a person, just raging narcissists.
Comically self.
Comically. Like, and again, this is rating on the scale of the self-selection of reality show contestants. Like we're in that realm. Like you think we couldn't be shocked, and yet, right? And that's been the definition of the season. And that's why like everybody's not playing idols. That's why, we've been waiting for, something that we could be like, you know what, that was a good gameplay. And I don't think we got there at all in this entire season. I think they're solid, right?
Yeah.
But then we get to this and it's like, okay, it's a genuine vote or tribal that I feel is up for grabs. And these fucking people won't shut up and let the actual competitors talk about it.
I mean, I will say that it's the first time in a long time that I felt like I liked all three of the final, the final three. And yeah, I went in thinking like, this seems like a Charlie advantage, a slight, like if we're doing the little 538, like this is slight Charlie. And then as you were saying, in the middle of that final tribal, I was like, oh man, I don't know. This is more of a toss up now. And then before the votes were read, I was like, yeah, I'm a slight Kenzie at that point, but it was
yeah,
close.
and I never like stopped to count what the votes were or anything, just kind of the general vibe.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Which I would have been wrong about.
No counts, just vibes.
Well,
and I think too that there was, I think it just seemed like Ben.
Yes, absolutely.
Up, right? Like it didn't.
And the jury made it painfully
It was
clear.
one of those things.
And like to that, like I wish. I don't love it, but that happens. Like, there's almost always one person that the jury's like, yeah, I'm not actually evaluating you here. Usually they're a little nicer to them, but it was, for me, it's like they weren't particularly nice to any of them. Like, this isn't like, oh, they done Charlie wrong. I don't think they did Kenzie a very good service. Like, that soda shit was just, it was frustrating. It was, you have 30 seconds to respond. Do you not understand what this is? This is their time to talk. Let them say, if you're saying the things, because jurors always say this, that they fucking care, and this is really, our votes are up for grab, which I kind of think ended up being true. Then why are you limiting their ability to explain themselves?
But also, to be clear, it was Tiffany that was the 30-second timer.
No. Soda said you have 30 seconds, and then
Tiffany's like, I'm the
very
timer.
excited to make it about her. Yeah, and I will keep time.
Yeah.
And it was just that, and in that there is all these jurors were still competing for attention. And again, that's what the season was. It's what it made it exciting. But like at that moment, I wouldn't have minded if more of them And I'd say more than the two knew their role in this. I'd say, crazily Venus, I think, from what we saw, kind of knew her role. And then Hunter, I mean, he's just not somebody. He's one of the few that isn't the raging narcissist that was on there, right? But everybody else is like me, 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 and I was just like, can we let the competitors talk, please?
It was to me, like I think I went in. I enjoyed Tiffany during the season, and it was a little jarring that like from jump, she was ultra serious and like. Yes, making it all about her. That did not make her stand out from the rest of the crowd, but just like all business. And it's like, it was not the vibe I expected from Tiffany. And I was like, oh, I'm not enjoying this. Like, you were fun to watch. Like, what's happening right now? Why is this, all suddenly like, oh, I don't want to hear any references and don't talk about Taylor Swift and don't try to be funny. And like, it was, she was Emily scolding me for our Oscars post. She's like, it's like, no. And Brad telling me, no, you have to rigidly adhere to these guidelines. Like, I don't think that's how this game goes. So,
yeah, and then like when Charlie is explaining like his path to trying to create options and like the six, and then they all just start fighting amongst themselves about what the six was. It's like, okay, right. But can we let the guy speak?
Right? Can he finish his sentence? Because like he was trying to make a point there, and y'all just kind of latched onto the whole six thing, and then reminisced for 20 minutes, probably edited down.
Yeah,
like we saw an edited version of that tribal. I'm sure they talked about themselves so much longer.
Yeah, and you said this like in DMs. It's like, well, what did we expect? Do we not know these people? And like, touche, but it doesn't mean I had to enjoy it, right? Like, True. It's like because I enjoyed them while they were doing that in the game. Although, again, there was every once in a while times I push back. It's like, but it would be cool to like see something that like I respect as gameplay at some point. But like because I was into it because it was clear that this was a final tribal council with stakes, which is an incredibly rare thing in the 46 season history of the show, because I liked all three and I would have been happy with, frankly, one of two results. A Ben win, while I would have been like, hey, I like the dude, but it would have been like, what the hell just happened there? Right. So that one I wouldn't have been happy with, but yeah, like I'm happy with the Charlie win, happy with the Kenzie win. So I kind of wanted to just see them do the thing. I wanted to see a jury that would actually ask them questions and then let them answer said questions. And obviously we don't see what we get. Also this is edited to help explain Kenzie winning instead of Charlie. So it's possible there were times when Charlie got to explain himself and he just didn't live up to the task. But it's like, I can't even really judge any of their ability. And this is me. I think you might have a different opinion, but like who did well and who didn't do well. Because it's just like, I don't know that the questioners cared,
Right. I think there was some degree. I think you are correct. There were some votes that were up in the air. I genuinely believe some of them when they said like, yeah, my vote was legitimately, I was torn. And I do think there was enough there that I felt like Kenzie was connecting with those people better, where Charlie just felt like very matter of fact about his game in a way. And like, I get like all these people on the jury are like the ultimate main characters, right? Like they need to know this season was all about them, and not that like it probably would have been transparent to a lot of people if Charlie had just leaned into that and buttered them all up. However, when I was watching the season, one of the things that I said is that like, it did seem like Charlie understood that these people are obsessed with credit. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know if he suddenly forgot that going into a final tribal council, or if he wanted to make it suddenly about a resume because he's like, oh, they'll respect it if I make it all about my resume. I don't genuinely know what would happen, but it felt like he was not reading the room well, and that could just be a function of edit, right? Like he could have been trying to answer and connect with them and just getting the cold shoulder, and it just slowly over time he got more and more like robotic in his answers.
Well, and you saw it like with all of them, like when they would try to explain something they did, all of a sudden the other people would clap back and there'd be disagreements like, oh no, that wasn't you, that was me. And it was like, okay. Do you want to hear the explanation or not? And I know the answer. The answer was not. Like Maria's like, I brought you into the six. It's like, okay, well, I have multiple
Right.
conversations in a day. And like Kenzie explaining when they wanted to vote out Ben versus, and this I truly believe that Q has no memory of all his back and forths. And it's just like, yeah, again, like these people made it for entertaining TV this season, but it was just like, this is the downside of all of these people with main character syndrome, which again, I wanted to make clear, not unusual for the show. It was just so much more than usual. There are levels, and this one, it went all the way to 11. Yeah, so no, I can buy that Charlie didn't do it well. One thing is like maybe he got the mixed messages, right? And they're here, no more jokes, none of this. You're gonna tell us. We want to know what you did. So he's like, okay, they want to know what I did. And I think going in, he probably also is like, this is finally my time to explain. He gave that confessional where he's like, I know I've been operating in the shadows, so I really need to now explain. But they didn't give a fuck about that,
Right? That's the thing. Is like there are two ways that you could anticipate going to that final tribal. Either they're going to respect you laying out a resume because they had talked so much about it during the game, or they're going to be wildly self-absorbed and they want you to talk about them.
Yeah.
And I get like going in, maybe he thought it was the former and the reality was the latter, and that might have thrown him off.
Mm-hmm. And again, from what the edit is, I just don't know how much time like he or any of them had to correct because, they were on a timer for their fucking answers and stuff like that. That legitimately might be one of my most hated juror thing that's ever happened. Like for the longest time, it was like pick a number like the fucking Kelly Goldsmith did in Africa. Like, are you kidding me? I've been watching these people like fight and claw and for this, and you just want to turn this into a random number generator. So and it kind of gets to their decision making. And again, I want to make clear, Kenzie winning's a fine and good outcome. It's a fine choice, all of that. But at least on like paper, at least on what we're told, a big part of that was based on how she answered the financial, need question. And like the jurors are free to do that. It's not the first time in history that's been it. Often in Survivor history, people are cognizant of that potential and vote out people that they're like, oh, the juries really might want to give that person money, so we got to get rid of them, right? But it kind of reduces my viewing experience a bit when it's like, well, shit, man, and not if that's all you're going to base it on is who needs the money more. Well, I can't play along for that, so it's a little less interesting.
Well, so my counter to that would be like, just as there are no rules and the Q can base his vote on whatever the fuck he wants, right? Like there's no rules for that. Similarly, there are no rules that you have to answer that question truthfully. You can absolutely lie. No one's going to call you on your bullshit. I mean, we'll get to later. There was someone that had a whole plan of just lying and explaining their lies and being like, yes, this is how you're gonna reward me. Charlie could have come up with whatever the hell he wanted about a backstory there, or how he was going to spend his money, or whatever the fuck else. And what are they going to do? Say, no, Charlie, I know you're lying. I've never met you until 20 days ago, but I'm positive that's not true. Nah.
I do think it's a trap for certain people. Like, frankly, I don't know that you would pass this test, you specifically, or me, right? I think Kenzie gets to answer that in a way that Charlie doesn't, right? Because her life history, right? He can't be like, oh, yeah, no, I've never really had money, so it'll be great to have some. Like, he clearly comes for some money, right? He's up for, East Coast type stuff. He's going to be a lawyer. So but here's why I hate it. And again, whatever. If that's how you want to base your vote, there's been dumber reasons why people voted in this game. I just don't like pretending like this is some world-changing amount of fucking money, It's like, what are you going to do with your $500,000? That's not enough for a house in most cities. Yeah, it is. But if in that spot and you're talking to Q, child number 18, it's like, you can't say, yeah, man, I mean, I was just going to pay some bills and save. Kenzie can because she has the backstory of being like, well, I've never really had much money, so that could do a lot. But the idea is like, what are you going to do with this money? And it's like, well, I mean, once I pay the taxes, like I'm still going to work next week. Like nobody's been able to retire off of their Survivor winnings, including like Bob, I think, who won it pretty close to retirement. Maybe he did. I don't know.
I was gonna say, like, this money will let me retire 4 years earlier. Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, it would be life-changing money for me because it would just clear like bills and stuff, and it'd be like, hey, cool, my savings are set up a bit more. But yeah, this whole idea, and it's like this old idea back when like the $1 million for one meant more. Inflation has happened a bit since then. But it's like, yeah, man, nobody's going to do a whole lot with the money because it's not that much money, But that's a privileged position for for like me to say, someone like Charlie to say that, somebody like Kenzie doesn't have to say. So I'm not faulting it as a thing, but it's also not enjoyable for me. One thing that's interesting, this is almost hot takey, but I want to put it out there anyway. It's possible, at least from what we see in the immediate aftermath of the vote, that Kenzie wins this season, A, because people like the way she said she was going to spend the money, and B, because of a strong performance in fire making. What separates her win from Gabler's?
Oh, can we do a compare and contrast of Kenzie and Gabler?
Again, I said it that way. It's like a hot take, but like, I mean, I know a few seasons ago, people were very, very angry that's apparently why Gabler won. I think, do I think Kenzie's a better Survivor player than Gabler? Oh, yes. But, and I don't think that's why she got all her votes, right? But like, because it was such a close margin, and if we are to take these people at their words, and I'm fair if you don't, but I will just add that like it was the time when they had less time to lie about it, right? It was like immediately after they cast the vote. They haven't watched their edit. There's no spin doctoring. Yeah, man, I just know, and I haven't been checking out the conversation about this episode. I finished it late last night. I was busy today, but I would bet that the Venn diagram of people who were pissed that like Gabler won this way and the people that are celebrating that Kenzie won this way, closer to a circle than like an 8.
I mean, I think Kenzie, the thing is Gabler sold a lot harder about like, part of his argument was, I kind of got a decent amount of money already. I'm going to, do good things with this, which even Charlie kind of hinted at, he like did the pump fake at it. Like, I don't know, maybe like I could do something nice.
And
with
I believe anybody who's like, yeah, that was bullshit. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, of course it was. It's like, I guess it sounds bad if I say like, I'm going to go see Taylor Swift from the third row of her concert or something like that. Like, the fuck, but that is probably closer to the truth, right? He'll pay off some student debt and then he'll go see Taylor Swift. That's probably what he would use the money for. But it doesn't sound as good as like, oh, I was struggling and now I'm going to use this and money's going to be for me and my business and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to help other people, but also look out for myself because I never do that. Sure.
Yeah. But it's just like, I wouldn't be able to. It just feels like a trap because if you like say the real thing, then it's like, we all know this isn't that much money, right? Like, it's great. It's great to have it. Don't get me wrong. I want it. But we all have to go back to work, even the winner. I guess some of you get to like, take some time off to see if you can just like live off cameos for a while. But Sandra kept working and she won this twice,
I mean, I feel like there were people from that season 30 cast who just, they didn't even win and they quit working. Some people came in like 4th, 5th place and they were like, I'm retired on this 45 grand.
What do you think about the decision that they ultimately made? Any issues with it or anything like that?
No, I mean, as I said, the jury can absolutely decide how they want, like whatever metrics they want to grade these people on and how they want to award their vote. That's fine. I mean, that is the game. And yes, is it frustrating when sometimes they're like basing it on non-game things. Yeah, kind of, because I mean it kind of like defeats the purpose of this show, which is that, you know, you're competing in a game. So you would think that, you know, how well you perform in the game should have a bearing on whether you can win or not.
Yeah, and however you, the voter, feels what better in the game means,
right?
You know,
exactly. But at the same time, like, this is nothing new. You know, this show's been around 46 seasons. You could have always done this.
Absolutely.
People have done this. It's nothing new.
One comment I have noticed floating out there, we don't get into too long. It's like, oh, the jury wasn't going to vote for a white guy or something like that. Like, whatever. For one, I don't buy it.
Nah.
But for two, it's like, are we going to pretend like there weren't plenty of jurors in the history of this game? We're like, I'm not voting for a woman. I'm not going to pretend that,
right.
You know? So if that was like one voter, hey man, voters get to do what they want to do. Juries do what they want to do. And I wanted to make clear, I don't just mean survivor juries. There's a reason why like lawyers fight to like have their clients not show up in, the prison's garb, because they know it's like, oh, look nice, do your hair and you might get found innocent. Like that's just how juries work. So no, it doesn't like illegitimatous. And again, Kenzie's a good winner. I'm good with it. It's fine. I didn't like the way the jury behaved. I would have preferred, frankly, if they had just all made their decision before they got there and then whatever, but like the facade of it all. And I felt like it just interfered in my viewing experience of seeing this story come to a close when at the final act, it's like, could y'all just shut up and listen?
Well, I mean, and the other thing was that it was at least mildly disappointing that in a season where everyone was so obsessed with like big moves and resumes, right? Like that did not seem to necessarily be how the majority of that jury.
Yeah. And again, it's fine, right. But I don't know what they would like. I feel like when those questions came to Kenzie, she really didn't have much of an answer other than, I hung around and I worked with this group, which was the same thing that like there was no differentiator there between her and Ben and Charlie. Right. So it's like if you profess that you care about that, then that the voting seems different. But again, you can vote because like Kenzie had a great social game and she made you feel good. That's the one thing I do want to talk about because that is another take that I've seen floated just a little bit. That it's like this proves, how important the social game is. And it's like, are we pretending that Charlie wasn't also a really good social player? Because I feel like this doesn't tell me anything about the social game. I feel like that was actually a strength of all three of the finalists.
Right. And I think really what it shows you is that they both did have a very strong social game, and that's why they both nearly tied. There was one other point too, is that, I think there was a question at some point, and I'm going to paraphrase it. It's at least close to it, but it was, name a move which was entirely your doing, right? Like that it was you were entirely responsible for. That question to me was a trap, because there is no way any move that you make, if you tell this jury, they all think it's their move, that there is no right answer that you can give them. You can't claim a move. The only way out of that question is saying, like, actually, there is no move you can possibly make in this game that is entirely yours. And, I couldn't have done it without you guys. That's the only answer you can give. Any move that you made, like, go back and watch the fucking tape. They all think that all the moves were theirs. If they were involved at all, then that was their move.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's a bullshit thing anyway. That's not how Survivor works. The only way you can really make solo moves is if anybody has the wherewithal of playing an idol, which apparently is the fucking hardest thing in the world.
Can you imagine?
But otherwise, yeah, man, it takes more than one vote typically to get rid of somebody. These things are group things. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it's just like I do want to just push back on like, Kenzie's win is like a success for all of us that cheer for the social game. Charlie was an excellent social player, so that's enough of that. I get frustrated when people tend to define social game as the actions that the players that I'm predisposed to cheer for take, especially sometimes when it's like I actually don't even have evidence of it, but I'm just going to say social game. Yeah, Kenzie was a great social player. And frankly, if anything separates it, if we're really doing that, it's like, but her game was better than Charlie's. I mean, maybe. Like again, the evidence we have is that one vote went to her because she won fire making, and one vote went to her because she needed the money more. But if we're gonna say that, it's not like she played a better social game so much as she has a natural, charisma that people are drawn to, which. Yeah, man, that's so much of what we call social game is just like personality.
You know what's funny? But some might even call her a Parvati 2.0. And yet, that never happened this season. Which is wild, because that's actually more like the type of game that Parvati played. So, anyway, off my soapbox here for a minute. Yeah, but I'm with you in that, like, they're both clearly social players. Both of them throughout the season were able to work with most of the people that we saw in the season. I think I mentioned in previous weeks, like even Venus is like getting her hair done by Kenzie, and they're all just hanging out and talking. Yeah,
and then she's like, I can bring someone in as Charlie.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think absolutely.
Right.
Other than maybe Soda, because I was just early.
Right.
Every member of that jury was, out working with both of them at some point.
Right. And so I think, both of them did the things that you need to do in terms of forming social bonds. And so, yeah, and the fact that it was close at the end kind of like supports that conclusion, right? Like, yeah, they both had the connections, and then one of them, maybe if we believe the justifications of the jurors, just had some random things break in their direction.
Another thing is like, a lot of like their success, like how we stayed alive, how I was able to move around, was just like waiting for everybody else to stumble in front of them too, right? We can't discount that like so much of just getting to the end in this season was just like not being aggressively dumb the way that the people were.
Can you imagine, though, if that had been someone's answer? I was standing back and waiting for you all to trip over your fucking shoelaces.
The speed skater who's like in last place that everybody crashes, right? Because, it's like, oh, what an amazing social game that, either Kenzie or Charlie played. It's like, well, yeah, but I mean, a lot of it was just everybody else big braining this, is doing all this, and you're just like, can we just do some basic Survivor though? And that was kind of the joke that would have been made about Charlie the whole time. It's like, watch him just win this thing just by like, how about I don't like try to vote out my alliance partner as early as possible and just kind of be okay with not claiming credit, and then it'll look like a super genius as a result. Kind of the same for Kenzie. So yeah, it was good.
Well, if we're pointing at the scoreboard, I guess Charlie voting out his number one earlier might not have mattered. I thought the way he played it was correct in terms of like when he decided to turn on her.
Guess not so much.
But, I guess, again, pointing at the scoreboard, and maybe that was not accurate.
Ben has come out and said that like he would have voted for Charlie to win had it been tied. So it really was about that Maria decision, which fully entitled to make, but was also just like a wild decision based on anything.
Well, so I'll jump ahead to the Maria thing just because I had a thought as that was happening, and like, as the votes were revealed and they're like talking about like, oh wow, you didn't vote for Charlie. So like one of the things that Maria said was essentially is like, oh, Charlie and I played the exact same game, and she's like, there's nothing to differentiate us. So math nerds, you'll like this. By the transitive property, her vote at the end was essentially saying, I don't think I played the best game. I think Kenzie's was better. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. That sounds exactly like something Maria would fucking say, right? Like, again, she can vote however she wants. She's under no obligation. But come on. She had made it clear that she and Charlie were essentially playing the same game, and that she was going to vote out Charlie to do something to differentiate them, right? Like, Charlie's not here, so you can't vote for him. You have to vote for my game, which was the same as Charlie's game. And then when she had a chance to vote for, quote unquote, her game, she's like, actually, no, it wasn't good. I
Yeah.
like Kenzie's better.
I think it's pretty clear that she never actually believed that. In some ways, like Maria is like a trailblazer in that like her type doesn't normally have the raging narcissism as to the degree that she did.
That's right. She's a glass ceiling breaker in that regard.
Yeah, because wow, I don't know if there's anybody in this season that was more assured of like their greatness than her. Actually, I suppose another woman that was in this finale. Oh, we can get to that.
I was going to say there's competition.
Because it was clear she's like, oh, well, I'm just so great. And it has to be me, you know, this and she clearly ate it all up when they were like giving her the standing ovation, which in their, I think Charlie was the last to stand on that one, although I think he was just in the back, but it's like that probably didn't help him in that regard when people were deciding what he did or did not do. Again, to the degree that they cared, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about Maria. You know, I'm trying not to really like base it too much on her vote. It's like a wild vote that like, you know, as you say. So you don't think your game was that good, but I think it was more that it's like, I don't think Charlie should get credit for my game. It was mine.
Yep. Which, I mean, again, I don't like to engage in fan fiction, but my guess at what happened, right, is that she gets voted out and she hears from someone else on the jury. It could have even been Liz, who comes in like the next day or whatever. Like, hey, Charlie was coming for you. Did you know that? And then I think that probably, you know, again, just guessing. Obviously, no, it's not canonical at all. But it seems like that would be the type of thing that Maria would go like, oh, that bastard, and then not give.
I mean, it could even have been this tribal. Like he does mention that, like how he was timing it and how he knew he needed to take these people out, but he needed them out for this time. So you're just that. It's like, what? You were going to take me out back when I was going to take you out. It's just so I've respected Maria's game throughout. I think there's a legitimate chance she would have won if she had won that challenge, and we should talk about that challenge, and we will.
We should.
I just never liked her. And it's just, there was always a vibe right from the first episode. We talked about this, how, you know, she's one of those professional birthers and all that. And there was like a thing, like, I think when she first met Tim.
It's funny though, by the way,
yeah,
birther has taken on a different connotation. Yeah, it has kind of faded out of the popular lexicon at this point though.
Yeah, there's just always this kind of haughtiness about her. And again, in some ways I respect the arrogance from the older woman type, you know, because it's like we don't usually get that.
Right.
But I just, there was never warmth in her presentation. And I'm saying it's not necessary, but like I tend to appreciate that in all characters, male or female. So it's like, I know she was good, but I was never into Maria or rooting for Maria at any point. I don't know. How did you feel about her?
I mean, I'm with you in that, like, I appreciated the arrogance because we often don't get that from the quote unquote mom. I laughed because, I mean, the thing is,
yes,
she fit
absolutely
right in with the rest of this group, right? You can see that, like, they can all relate along the lines of, like, oh yeah, I also think I'm the greatest. That's amazing. Look how much we have in common. But yeah, just the slight bitterness to her tone when she's like, well, you know, I guess if it took two of them to beat me, I must be pretty great. Like, yes, great. This was fun to watch. That was the most fun I probably had watching Maria.
I will say, every reason to be salty.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Of course. It was. And, you know, this is where the, you haven't checked the comments yet. I've seen some, which I totally expected. You know, a lot of times people get very hung up on the rules, Andy. The rules are so important. Won't somebody think of the rules? Like in South Pacific, you know, we're citing precedent here. Like we're fucking Supreme Court justices.
I mean, we've already gotten that even on our slide.
Yeah, of course. But the thing is, like, you and I have talked about this so many times. Just try shit. You know, the worst that happens.
Just do it. Liz didn't ask if, from what we see, she doesn't ask what she can do. She doesn't even say what she's doing. She just goes and does it.
And at that point, what are they going to do? Say, oh, wait, no, you can't. It's too late. She's done it. So...
Yeah. And like maybe they could have been like, no, put that down. That's not yours.
Sure.
That could have happened. But I do think there's a few differences between that and what happened with Sophie in South Pacific. People just coming to her defense. I just want to remind everybody, Sophie won that season. We're okay here. Okay. Albert didn't want to do what Sophie was asking. Like, she's browbeating him into doing it. Drop your stack. And he's like, but I don't want to. And then Probst, in some ways, you could say to Albert's defense, is like, no, you can't do that. But almost just like, let's move on here. Right. It's not happening. But again, it was like she was announcing what to do and all of that. Like, I wonder if it would have been different if Albert just started handing her stuff, right? The way that Liz did. The other thing that's different is it's like, it's been 20 years, man, or like 10 years, people, like, let it go. Sometimes people like change. If you were disagreed with the decision before, you should be happy that they're not doing it now. We don't need to maintain consistency on poor decisions of the past. Sometimes we can just do better, right? It's actually cool and a good thing if we forgive student loan debt. Not just be like, well, I had to pay mine. No, Sophie had to do her challenge alone, so Kenzie shouldn't. All that said, it was kind of
dick
too. Like, it sucked in so many ways. Again, I mean, good on Liz, I guess, but like, why couldn't she just tell Kenzie, go get your board? Because like, what was Kenzie doing? She like could never once clue into the fact that like there was a post where that had holes in it, you know, like it never entered her brain. So when Liz is going to get that thing, what was Kenzie even doing at that point?
Yeah, she was standing up there the whole time. Was she randomly guessing numbers? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't know. If anybody knows, it's like recounting the two things she does know, but it's just like I feel like it would have been enough for Liz to be like, go get the board. But no, she has to go do it for her. And that, again, for like talking about the great winner Kenzie that like gets Maria's votes, like she couldn't even really beat you in that challenge because Maria would have won.
I was going to say, I mean, she saw that and was like, oh shit, I should probably do that. That does sound accurate. But yeah, I can imagine, you know, if I'm in Maria's spot, I'd be like, this is bullshit right here. Like, you know, regardless of whether there are rules or not, I can get being bitter about that because it does suck.
Yeah.
So I can understand.
Anyway, this is a question I wanted to get into. It kind of spurs a bit from a comment that was on our site last week that like, you know, why are you saying that Kenzie has a chance to win? And it's like, well, I think we did, right? I think we mentioned like, I think Kenzie could still win.
I think we both said that she was like the second best chance to win, right?
I don't know. We probably were like Maria or Charlie, but Kenzie definitely has a shot, right? And, you know, if she would have pressed me before, I wouldn't assume that she would have beaten like Charlie or Maria in like a final situation. I would have assumed that her chance to win would have been against the other two. So I would have been wrong. But it's like, should we have been talking about her more this season than we did? I mean, she was the winner of the season, and I feel like we didn't talk about her a lot in the final episodes.
I mean, I think we talked a lot about the things and the people that the show featured, right? Which is what we usually do. You know, we don't get into these like fan fiction. I wonder what, you know, the non-featured characters were doing this week. Occasionally we'll pick up on, you know, stuff that's not like foreground, but it's on the show, like it's happening in the background. Like you'll see interactions taking place and like, oh wow, I noticed that, you know, Charlie is hanging out with these two people. Like, I wonder if they've got a decent relationship going. Or like I mentioned earlier with Kenzie braiding hair with Venus and Tiffany and stuff like that. Like, yeah, okay, I picked up on those sorts of things. But generally, we're talking about the main plot points of the episode, right? And so when she's not prominently featured, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about what she did because what she did was the same thing everybody else did.
Yeah, and I feel like we talked about her a bunch in the early days of Yanu, right? When she was
featured,
a plot driver. And then, yeah, we did talk about her less as the second half of the season. I think that's a fair thing. In fact, there were times when it's like, well, do I just want to talk about her because, you know, I have a slight crush on her? Like, I feel like that's not enough to make the cut. But I think more of that, and just I want to kind of, as you've been, you know, as you kind of started alluding to, is just kind of what we do here and how it's different than maybe the way other people observe Survivor and the other way other people talk about Survivor, write about it or whatever. and this I'll say for me, and I think it applies a bit to both, but I'd let you speak on your own. I made a conscious decision a few seasons. I don't know how many seasons ago, probably about 5 or 10 or at this point. Like I was done talking like deep, like looking into the edit. We were never edgic people, but we used to talk about kind of like what we think the edit is saying and what that means for the ultimate outcome of the season. We used to, yeah, very early on, did a thing where we're going to pick out who has no chance to win based on the edit, right? Foolishly, in many ways. And we stopped doing that. Then we made a conscious decision, like, we're not even going to do predictions. And every once in a while it leaks out, because, I mean, obviously this is a game, and when you're watching, you start thinking about who can win or not. But after a while, I just, for one, I shifted the way I was a viewer of this show. But I also found like those conversations weren't that interesting. And moreover, they were often contentious in a way that was not fun. People like, yeah, they get the people they're rooting behind, and then it's like a fight. How are you not seeing this and all of that? So I do know that there was a lot of talk out there that the edit was saying that Kenzie was the winner of the season. And I'd see that and be like, well, I could see it. Sure. Could be her. I don't care. And that's why near the end, we weren't talking about her, because plot wise and just kind of something interesting happening wise, she wasn't really involved in that much. I think if you were like to examine, it's like, hey, she's still getting these key confessionals, and they're really highlighting how good she is with Ben, which I think does something to show like her in a positive light and like how people like her. Interestingly, it had zero impact on her winning the game, right? I mean, Ben did not vote for her. Ben didn't even take her to the end. You made her go to fire. But it was something tangible the show could show. It'd be like, look at what a great player she was. Because like Ben's come out and said, it's like Charlie was doing that just as much as Kenzie was. But yeah,
right. But we only saw Kenzie because she's the winner of the season, right?
And it's just like, I think it goes to the way that we've chosen to talk about the show. And one way that I think has like renewed my interest in doing so, because at a certain point we both got to like, I don't want to do this much anymore. And some of it was that the Survivor wasn't very good, but some of it was that it was just like the conversations were kind of boring and nasty in ways they didn't need to be. So now instead we're just like, what's interesting to us? What's fun? What, and again, sometimes it's, what seems relevant to the moving action of the TV series. But some of it's also just like, can you believe these fools are not playing idols and stuff? And she wasn't doing that, to her credit, in some ways, not finding the idol is a great way to avoid not playing the idol. So yeah, it's like, I know other places really care about that. And I think I enjoy it better that we don't. Of course, I care a bit who wins. It's fun to watch an outcome of a thing, but I just find those conversations to be limiting and boring.
And that's one other thing that you didn't touch on is that we used to do, preseason coverage. And part of that, the rationale in stopping that is like, I don't really, I think a lot of times, I don't know that we were necessarily quite as heavily into this, but people would get attached to the players that they thought were going to do great, that they liked in the preseason videos and stuff like that. And just like, when it didn't shake out on screen, when it's 10 episodes in and you've seen your person that you're rooting for, like for 30 seconds an episode, you probably need to give up the horse on that one, right? Like or the ghost, I'm sorry. I mixed metaphors there. Like, that person is just not a major player in this season. And there's probably a reason they are backgrounded. And it's probably because the show didn't find them interesting in the ways that you did. So,
yeah. And I think our shows become better, or at least better for me, when we just kind of focus on like episode by episode stuff. And obviously like there's threads and we talk about that, but like too much of, I think, the headspace when we were talking about that and other people is like, what's gonna happen and how I can show that what I know is gonna happen. And then it became the times it was like, well, we've already talked about this before it even happened. What's the point now? So yeah, and that's, I think, just why like Kenzie didn't get as much attention down the stretch, is because bigger things were happening. All that said, really happy she won. She was like a super engaging, presence, all of that. I think the reason why I responded to her, like, in a pseudo crush or whatever, is like, I love that she was always smiling and laughing about what was happening in the show. It was clear that she was having a good time despite all the struggles, and that helps me as a viewer because I want to have a good time while watching it.
Right. And I think, I was kind of getting to this point too, is that I still talk about like story arcs and things like that, right? It's not necessarily for predictive value. It's just like I mentioned that coming into this finale, like there was clearly we were setting up a showdown between Charlie and Maria. Like that's still entertaining. And that's not, I mean, we did do some like, oh, I could see it going this way or this way. But that wasn't so much to be like, I want to prove to everybody that I'm so smart and I can see how the outcome of this is. It was more like, oh, which of these conclusions might be interesting to me as a viewer? And
we did not nail that neither of them win because one of them deeply stabs the other one in the back. And look, man, I mean, Charlie voted her out and she was ready to eliminate his chances of winning prior to that. So in many ways, like not voting for him is no more or less a betrayal than voting them out. But in all other ways, it definitely is.
Hey,
what did you
speaking of
think of Kenzie this season in her win? We should probably just touch on that. I think I've said my piece, but
yeah, I mean, it's roughly the same. It's just I enjoyed watching her. She's obviously very charming, charismatic. I appreciated that, she had those human moments with Ben, and she had clearly a strong relationship with Tiffany, and also at some point must have, according to her, discussed that they could take shots at each other, try to vote each other out. So there was some, strategic aspect to her game, but just ultimately it was cool to watch Kenzie just hang out and be with people and be entertaining. Like she's a good presence on TV.
Should be noted, she's like said in exits, like, I actually felt that way about 12 hours. So she had no intention of voting out Tiffany when she didn't, so and if you're like, oh, she was ready to be cutthroat, it's like, no, actually, which is fine.
Right.
It frankly worked out well in many ways, and not just accidentally, right? I do think she was, a cognizant player informing that final part. And in Modern Survivor, it's like kind of like that's all it is. It's like if you found the right 3-day alliance near the end, it's kind of what sweeps you to the end. Flip side on Charlie, do you think there was anything else he could have done other than what he did that could have led to the victory?
I mean, he could have gone to final tribal against Ben and Liz, but I mean, I think his focus was just on getting to that final tribal council. Like that was canon. That was in the show. He said, like, I really just wanted to I didn't care how I got here. I just wanted to get here. And I think that's because he believed he was going to win no matter what. He just needed to get there, right? So he wanted to eliminate the risk of losing fire. And, there's a scenario where, the best move for Ben, if Ben genuinely thought he had a chance of winning, was to take Liz with him.
Yes.
Right? Like, whether he knew that or not, I have to believe that they were blowing smoke up Liz's ass about her being a threat. But at the same time, his best move, if Ben wanted to win, was take Liz and then hope.
Yeah.
And in that scenario, Charlie goes against Kenzie in fire, and maybe he wins, and then he wins this season.
Yeah. The other thing, be better at the puzzle Plinko game.
Yes,
then because he said, I would have taken Liz to the end, and then if Ben eliminates Kenzie, then I think Charlie wins. I think the other thing maybe is like if he had voted out Kenzie instead of Venus, that could have helped. I understand going after Venus. She had an idol. She's kind of a bit of an age into chaos. But I also don't believe she was somebody who would have beaten him in a final jury situation. So, that would have been better. I support voting out Q, however, for one, to weaken Maria, and for two, I'm not sure Q wouldn't have been a contender if he made it to the end. Just the very act of like, hey, I'm here. You guys didn't think it would ever happen, but look at us. So, but other than that, like he played a good game and he lost by a vote, basically, one vote flips another way and he wins this game. So, that's how it goes.
And, I really want to talk about the other player in this finale.
One of the two.
Liz.
We got a couple, but Liz, I think we want to talk about more.
No, I don't care about, there's not that much to say. We want to talk about Ben?
Here,
Ben
quick. Here's the Ben
seconds.
section. Enjoyable dude. Didn't really have much of a chance, but seemed like a good bro.
seems cool.
Yep.
Yeah, like he would be fun to hang out. And I don't know if he would. I don't know. Is he a former alcoholic? I feel like that was a part of his story. I don't know. I would say have a drink with him, but I wouldn't do that. We could drink water if he's not allowed to drink alcohol. That's fine. He just seems like a chill guy.
Yep. All right, now Liz.
All right, let's talk Liz, because goddamn, what a finale for Liz. Oh, man. It was just a string of hits. I mean, the boo, throwing tomatoes and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Bravo. And then also just, I was going to beat you all. You were, it would have been all his. Oh, it was
the take that Venus makes when that happens. And then, when she goes around turning, it's like remembering, right, none of these people will ever talk to me. No, it was brilliant. Just I laughed out loud and then rewound it in case my wife wasn't watching. Just
so great. And it, as if it wasn't good enough, right? That then, for those of you who are not plugged into these sorts of things, I didn't find this, luckily. I think it was maybe someone in our Slack or one of the comments. Liz tweeted, "I'm not a millionaire. I said that to minimize my threat level and to make folks take me less seriously. It worked until it didn't. I'm actually a single mom supporting 3 households on just my income. That's one of the bombs I was planning on dropping at Final Tribal Council." What a treasure Liz is.
I believe the tweet, by the way.
I absolutely believe that tweet.
Frankly, it never really had made sense to me that the business model she talked about led to being a millionaire.
She, we said early on, she seemed like the type of person that would try to scheme her way onto a very low budget Survivor podcast. And there was nothing to dispel that in this season. The fascinating thing to me, though, is the galaxy brain thinking here. What is the fucking historical precedent for, I deceived you all, now give me all the money? I don't, the closest thing I can think of is lying about your career, which the only one that I can recall off the top of my head is Tony. And that was not his central thesis. Also, Tony was up against one other person who was a cartoon character. It just, where does this thought come from that, I know what I will do. I will make myself very off-putting by acting all aloof and rich until I get to the Final Tribal Council. And then I'll be switched it up. That was all an act. The way I was talking down to you and condescending. I'm actually poor. Give me money.
Yeah, and here's a tip to future survivors, and I've never played, never will. If your whole plan from day 0, day minus, day before you ever get on the island is, I'm gonna win this thing in the Final Tribal Council with just this crazy twist of fate, it's too late. It is exceedingly rare to win anything at the Final Tribal Council. Even some of the big bombs, Adam saying, what is going on with his mom, or Jeremy with his kid. I kind of feel like those two were already winning before those announcements ever came. It just kind of clinched the deal. The closest I could think of is, Marianne being you guys took me for granted. You were wrong too. And hey, look at this proof I have that I was doing more than you thought. That was maybe something.
But even there, that's not check out how my story.
Yeah.
And
I just love it how it fits in that Liz is I'm going to be too big a threat. What can I do to reduce that? Just amazingly healthy ego. If only we all had the confidence of Liz and being all I would have taken all of you down. And she wasn't just talking about the people who are remaining in the game. She was saying it to the jurors too. And it's just,
yep.
Yeah, that's not typically how it goes for your, again, for your type. I'd be I gotta be really worried about surviving the first 6 days. That's where I gotta be. And being all I'm a millionaire, bitch. That's an interesting approach.
I don't even need to be here. This is just a fun vacation for me.
And then her mind is see, now they won't view me as a threat. It's don't worry about the threat part. Worry about the other part. That they're is she an asset or not? Now, maybe with this cast and that they seem to be worried about the end from the very beginning, maybe it did help. I don't know. But when she went on the big, Applebee's driven rant, I told you, like, yeah, it's just, I wasn't as into it because I wasn't into Liz. I was fully into all the Liz from this episode. When she's talking about how they come back for tribal and Maria's all like, I didn't think you guys had it in you, which is just another piece in what we talked about last week, kind of around why I just never really liked Maria that much. I was like, yes, Liz, talk your shit.
I mean, really, again, Liz recognizes condescension, right? Like she can smell her own. So she's like, wait, that's my shtick. What are you doing talking down to us?
And yeah, so we gave Maria props for being like, good for her for being the older mom and still having just this, outsized ego. Same with Liz, just trailblazing, behavior on this season.
That's right. Younger moms can also be like self-centered and narcissistic. I just genuinely, where did this plot come from? I mean, it strikes me as one of those things where you're like, oh, I know what I'd do if I ever got on this show. And I don't know if, you've said this plan out loud to anyone so that they could push back on it and be like, that really just sounds like, of course it'd have to be someone that has seen the show, but that really just sounds like not the most feasible plan, because you don't get to Final Tribal and then suddenly you're changing everyone's perception of you. They have 20 whatever 8 days ish, 20 something days. Who the fucking knows at this point? Anyway, right, they have several weeks of perceptions of you, and you're gonna, over the course of a few hours, you're gonna completely.
Sorry, John, I do not believe they're there for 7 weeks. That's an Australia thing, I think.
No, I said 4 weeks, didn't I?
You said several.
So.
Sorry, I had to do it to him.
Well done. So anyway, yeah, you're not going to suddenly reset everyone's perceptions of you within like a 3-hour block versus what they've known of you for the past few weeks. So
95% of seasons in Survivor, the vote is decided before you've ever reached Final Tribal Council. Your whole plan from going in, from if I ever get on Survivor, is like, I'm going to get to the final and lay it on me and then just watch the money roll. And frankly, even if they're like, wow, we're still not voting for you, though.
That's an interesting plan. Anyway.
Now, interestingly, though, this is apparently one of the few seasons where being like, but I really need the money, though, could have won.
She maybe would have gotten one vote that way. So, she would have no longer been a 0 vote finalist. So that's something.
But, given that was Q, I don't know that Liz is getting that.
That's a good point. There was a touch of animosity there. Hey, what is your initial gut reaction on where this season ranks? Because we're gonna have to do season rankings this summer at some point. I don't want to put a date on it. I don't want to commit myself to some sort of work. Plus, it's so fucking hard to get all of you to send me your rankings. So, all right, where does this rank for you?
I know they act like it's the most difficult thing in the world. It's like, you guys realize that the other 4 of you hardly do anything. I feel like you can add 2 seasons to a list. Higher than 45, definitely, which we'll also be adding to the rankings. Gut reaction without looking at where we're at. Like, it was an enjoyable season. I was entertained throughout. I do think the final tribal did sour me a bit, just because it just showed kind of highlighted and underscored the flip side of the raging narcissism that defined this season. It's like, oh yeah, there's sometimes bad. And it's not just that moment, but also that there was never really good gameplay throughout. So definitely upper half.
Yeah.
Probably if it's upper third, it's right near the bottom of the upper third.
Right. I mean, for me, I'm in that similar 15 to 20 range around there somewhere. So
yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed watching. Just a really funny season of Survivor.
It was good. It was just an enjoyable program to watch. And
yeah, good winner, so like there's not like, but it's just, again, all the time I was like, I want to see something like a good gameplay. Because again, it's not the be all end all. Social game is really important, probably more important. But like, I particularly enjoy when there's something like, that was a really good move. And I just don't feel like there was ever a time that I said that.
Agreed.
This season.
But, the people, they love the rankings. And
they do.
And one thing that we have not yet done in this episode of the podcast is do some top 3. Because this is our thing, and we got set up for it. Ben gave us options. Apparently, there was a Rolling Stones reference. I did not catch that lyric. I don't know the Stones discography well enough. But there was definitely a Beatles reference, and
2 Beatles references.
Right, exactly. The Beatles were referenced. How about that? So let's do our top 3 Beatles songs. I feel like everyone's going to have opinions on this.
Yeah, actually, where are you as a Beatles on the Beatles? I actually don't know like your level of interest at all when it comes to them.
They're totally fine. Do I listen to them very often? Nope. But when I hear their songs, I'm like, oh, that's all right. I'll continue listening to it. I don't generally seek them out very often. I definitely know all the words to several of their songs.
Yes.
That you're probably going to hear those songs in this list.
Yeah, and if I had to guess, that's where I would have put you.
Yep.
Myself, I would rank myself as like a Beatles fan. Like if I was listing like favorite bands, depending on the size of the list, they'd probably make it. I have all of their albums on vinyl. Well, like their official like UK 5 albums. In the US, they usually just grab songs like this is a Beatles record. I think one is literally called Beatles' second record or second album. Like there's no creativity. They just wanted to make as much money off of them. But I'm not like a huge because biggest band in the history of popular music. To really be like, I'm a big fan, you got to go deep. Man, that's not a level I'm interested in. Yeah, so that's where I'm at. Did you want to start?
Sure. I mean, I should defer to your level of fandom. So number 3 for me, I'll go with Let It Be, which
all right.
I find to be an enjoyable song.
So for me, number 3, I'm going something from their older stuff. And that's one thing, like when you're well, I guess our age, I guess I can't speak to other young people, but first introduced to the Beatles, it's the Fab Four, Invasion, Screaming Teenager stuff. I know up here, like they played it in Chuck E. Cheese and stuff. Then, get older and try to be a bit of a music snob is like, oh, I like the older, more, heady stuff. And then I got older again. And it's like, that early stuff, the pop stuff was pretty good. So I'm going with All My Loving. And there's a lot of early Beatles songs. What I like about them is they're like 2 minutes long. And they start like right away, bam, we're doing the verse. No intro chords, no, warming up. It's just bam, the song has started and we're going to be done soon too. There's a few like that. And that one's my favorite.
And if that's the thing you're into, I got to get you into Eurovision because they limit the songs to 3 minutes. Like that's the most you can do. And it's batshit. We're going to do that next season. Just trust me. I'll get you into it. And your kids will watch it too. They'll be like, oh, this is insane. Why does this exist? Which is a thing that I constantly say. But I tune in.
I have a near 15-year-old. It's hard to get him to watch anything with us at this point.
I mean, I was going to say there's a lot of nudity, but I mean, I don't know that it's the type of nudity he's going to be wanting to tune in to see. All right. Also, exciting bit of trivia I learned there that you also have Charles Entertainment cheese in Canada. I did not know that. All right. Number 2 for me, Come Together.
All right.
It's just an enjoyable song. And I believe Aerosmith covered it or something like that. I was going to make a joke and say that I liked when Aerosmith did it, but when the Beatles covered it, it really landed. But nah.
Yeah, it's got the good bass line to start. Absolutely.
Yep.
For me, number 2, I'm going with Eleanor Rigby. I like the kind of the gothic mood of it. I like the strings. This is probably one where it's like, see, no, the Beatles aren't just this pop stuff. They're like this elevated thinking. Yeah. It's like the proto Cure type song, but no, it's the pop sensibilities in every era other than like, Revolution #9 or something like that. Yeah, no, Eleanor Rigby. There's time, and I should note, ask me again in 2 weeks and this list changes. There's times when I would have said this is my favorite Beatles songs. I'm sure I could have come up with another 3.
And I mean, even my list would probably change because it would just be like, which ones came to the top of my head? Because those were probably my favorites. And so my number 1, Hey Jude, which honestly, you'd think like, this is not really that amazing of a song. It's just fun.
Yep.
And so that was the reason it jumped to number 1 on my list. This was the level of thought that I put in this list.
Yeah, and like Beatles do good schmaltzy songs. That's often McCartney's specialty, but I also chose a schmaltzy song to begin. I just think this one's prettier. That's In My Life. I like the key change in the middle of the chorus. I'm not going to do it here to support anybody, but and just So that's my top 3 for now. Let's hear everybody else's. Literally, almost everybody. Come on, this is the biggest band in the history of pop music. I feel like anybody who comments on our site should be able to put 3 songs together.
Right. Let's keep this thing going because the people love rankings, and also I know that they love rankings because we get fan mail now. Like, you can text our podcast, which is a wild concept, and people enjoy doing it. We got so many freaking texts this week that I was like, oh, I guess people wanted to text us. Who knew that there was a demand for this? But some of them, I gotta say, step your fucking game up. Others, we're going to discuss right now. So let's start with this one, which I will read. Hello, Purple Rock friends. I have, first of all, just what an assumption there, friends. I have loved listening to your show and hot takes on the new era Survivor seasons. For the longest time, I have glazed over all your oddly specific niche NBA references. Oh God, what a... But
I love that, by the way, because it's not going to stop. I don't care how much you guys glaze over. We do this for us, first and foremost.
That's right. I mean, you got us there, but it's not ending. Anyway, niche NBA references because I don't really follow basketball. However, I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I have been super into the Wolves playoff run. So that leads me to suggest an idea for your top 3 rankings this week or future Survivor season. If you keep doing this at the end of this episode, who would be your top 3 NBA players to compete in Survivor? Like, if there was a Survivor sports season with all the athletes or something, I'm sure many could have a good mix of athletics plus strategic play that could be fun to watch. My other top 3 theme suggestion is top 3 Oasis songs, since Ben did reference them early in the season. Anyway, thanks for reading, Natalie.
We did do the Oasis list of that very episode.
I was going to say, like, I absolutely could have cut off the last part of that text, but I really wanted to believe that Natalie just skipped the Oasis discussion because I wasn't on the podcast.
It's a fair assumption.
Natalie's like, if I don't hear John's Oasis songs, I'm out. Fuck it. Not listening to this one.
I always wonder if we did this before, not in the top 3, but choose one, because there's been 2 NBA players in the show previously. So I almost it feels familiar, but we're absolutely doing it again. And just for a reminder, the 2 is the late Clifford Robertson from Cagayan, and also like the Phoenix Suns, Portland Trailblazers sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then
there.
Scott Pollard from Korong. So I can rank him last as people that I'd want to see compete in Survivor. I didn't particularly enjoy it the first time.
Been there, done that.
And then obviously, Uncle Cliffy is not going to happen. Rest in peace. I'm going to start this one because I let you start the other one. So my number 3, let's get Victor Wembanyama on the show.
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely.
It would be insane. He would be terrible. I'm not even sure how well he speaks English. But I just want to see the 7'6" alien, like anything, any element of Survivor. I want to see it happen. I want to see him have to jump off the boat. I want to see them try to build a shelter that can support him. I want to see them do a challenge where you got to put a beanbag bag on a pole, and unlike JD, he actually just finger rolls it up there. Just any kind of wild visual. I want to see him. Everybody come on in, and they can't get him in the shot with the other members of his tribe.
Zooming out. It'd be so good. Oh, yeah, and I'm imagining too, like, when they'll like have him stand on the little deck and they got to shoot into the buoys, whatever. What if he just jumps and dunks it? Yes. Because for him, there's probably like a 10-foot. Like he could probably make that.
I want to see him like,
Got,
yeah,
like-
the hang off the pole one. That, like, we saw Parvati, they had it this season, and like his feet are almost at the ground no matter what. His arms wrap around the pole twice, just
Oh, so good. He's like scratching his own back while he's hugging the pole.
freezing.
All right, my number 3 is Kyrie Irving. I feel like he really needs a platform for his views, and Survivor could be it. Like let's get some Kyrie
Fun trivia
on
now.
our TV.
Kyrie's high school teammate was on Survivor. That season, the season we don't like to talk about, 39. Dean played high school ball with Kyrie.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
Ooh. Luckily, I've forgotten that.
You'll
So I'm
forget
gonna. Yes, I will. I'm gonna take number 2 here because really for me this one was easy. It's a slam dunk, if you will. It'd be Gordon Hayward, but only if they'll be filming the season in November because I think it's important to me that he not be in the U.S. in November. Actually, so my real number 2 was Wembanyama. And I was like, fuck, I can't believe you took him. So that was my number 2.
All right, for me at number 2, I have Reggie Miller, and not because I necessarily think he would be entertaining on the show, although he's a legendary trash talker. There could be some vibes. It's largely so he would not be available to broadcast NBA games. And you can say, well, aren't you just
Also-
robbing Peter to pay Paul on that? You'd have to watch him on another show you're really on. I don't think he'd last very long. So it's like, get him on there and then send him to the pre-jury trip. And hopefully it's the season during the NBA season so I can stop listening to him call games.
Also, I didn't even consider going with retirees. I went all current players.
All right, I went. I only went with one current because legitimately, it's not going to be anybody current. A professional athlete could not put their body that makes them billions of dollars. But I picked
we are
Victor.
wish
Like I
casting.
picked a rookie, so I understand we don't have to stick to realism for year on out. But the rest, I did go with retired NBA players.
Okay, so my number 1 is pure dream casting, and that's Kevin Durant. Because a lot of people are thinking like, oh, why is he just would be fun to watch? He's got a lot of personality. No, because I want to see the fucking
right.
tweets. I want Kevin Durant arguing on social media with someone that has like 8 followers, and they're going to be like, well, don't you have better things to do? And he just says,
the
no.
game don't stop.
Because that's right. I love that. And so if we could take that out of NBA, well, it's not even Twitter anymore, but like if we could just apply that same level of troll to Survivor, I'm in.
Survivor Twitter is not ready for the KD experience.
It's a delight.
Yeah, so for number 1, part of me did think like I'll just play to the asker here, play to Natalie and like choose a Timberwolf and like imagine like Kevin Garnett in this game. But 2 things. 1, I think they just recently started following the Wolves, so they might not really know about Kevin Garnett. By the way, Wolves are my rooting interest from here on out for there. Not because you sent this lovely message, but because Anthony Edwards is like the most fun. But it couldn't be Kevin Garnett because like they would have no usable footage. Because I don't know if that guy can say like 10 things in a row without cursing. It's just some of the most vile things. So
remember that time that he called Charlie Villanueva a cancer to his team?
What's interesting there is
Charlie
Villanueva, for most of you who don't know, has alopecia. So the guy's bald, no eyebrows, the whole deal, and that's what Kevin Garnett decided to do. This guy was intense. So for me, again, I was sticking to retired players. I thought the best choice to be on Survivor, the one I'd like to see the most, I guess, is the question is Nate Robinson. One reason I thought that is like it'd be good to have like a normal human-sized former NBA player. I mean, again, it would be funny visually. That's why I picked Victor. But like, if we want like somebody who could actually compete, now he was 5'8", but still won like 3 dunk competitions. He after he was no longer able to play in the NBA, he hung around a lot of like European leagues, that sort of thing. He, I think, tried out for the NFL. He fought a professional boxing match against Jake Paul. Like, I feel like this is a guy who really wants to like keep it going. Then when I was doing that, I did a bit of research today, and it's like, on a sad note, like he's suffering from renal failure. So clearly he could not go on Survivor. If he doesn't get a new kidney, he'll probably die. But then that keeps him on top of my list because only happens if he gets that, kidney transplant. So let's hope Nate Robb lives and then play Survivor. That's what I meant. I did not mean to bring us down on that. It's just I had already written it down when I found that out.
Oh.
Another list.
Well, good luck to Nate Robb. Yeah, let's you know what?
Because we're not going to answer any of these after this, right? Like once this we're done recording here, we go dark for 5-6 months. So yeah, you can send in fan mail afterwards, but probably not questions that not a lot of value. If you want to send comments, because again, there's no way for us to reply otherwise.
Right. All right, let's do this next one.
All right, I'll do that. I'll read this one out. So this is Vicky from Los Angeles. Good. That's what the message says. To celebrate John's bi-curious identity, which I feel like they kind of missed your answer to the last question, and I support it. I support just running with this.
Well, I went from bisexual to bi-curious, so that I did at least downgrade. I maybe I keep it up and I'll be bi-agnostic next, or I'm just gonna keep. Right, moving down.
The top three for the next podcast should be favorite gay musicians. Immediately, I decided to expand this to queer. I think it sticks to the spirit of the question, but just opens it up a bit. Ground rule, so we said, is canonically queer. No, I've heard rumors, or they have a certain kind of haircut. They have to be out. And then
right.
I didn't put this to you, but it's if they're a member of a band, there's a certain level of band member before, you can't, if it was the bassist of a band, you can't be that band is queer. No, pick the person or something. But anyway, that's kind of where it was at. What do you got?
Right. You couldn't you couldn't necessarily pick the drummer from a certain band, unless
the drummer's the lead or something, fair.
Right. Yeah, if it's with Van Halen or something, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, shit, yeah.
I feel like the guitarist,
but no,
name ends in Van Halen is probably the bigger part.
I mean, yeah, probably, but still,
Def Leppard.
I was thinking of
that was actually a potential
Leppard.
top three because Ben did mention Hysteria. Said the word. I'm like, ooh, Def Leppard. Anyway.
All right. So, quick honorable mention for me, because I've actually already mentioned this song this season, is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch by Tyler, the Creator, who I did not realize falls into this category, but according to Google, definitely does. So, my actual number 3 is instead Tightrope by Janelle Monáe.
It's the artist, it's not the songs, man.
Probably
I mean, you can do it that way, but...
Well, no, I took the prompt and ran with it.
But I mean, unless you have 3 Janelle Monáe songs, we can keep her on the list.
Yeah, we are, because there are 3 separate artists here. So I picked. All right, I didn't just pick the artist. I picked their song.
I did artists. You did songs, but
that it vaulted.
Okay, fair.
All right, we're good. All right, so that's it. Tightrope by Janelle Monáe.
All right, my number 3 musician. I went with Sleater Kenny. They're the kind of indie girl rock band out of the Pacific Northwest. I have all but their most recent album because I don't listen to new music. I'm old. Now I'll probably get that one too. Yep, they're a big fan. That's number 3.
All right, and wild swing for me from the number 3 to the number 2. George Michael, Faith. Again, Faith being the song that vaulted George Michael onto this list, but George Michael.
No problem there. That's a great song, great video.
It is. And you know what? It's strong allyship by George Michael in that one. He was really looking out for the straight.
So I'm number 2, and it's probably right when I decided to expand it from gay to queer, is David Bowie. Yeah,
I figured that was your reason.
And part of it is he intentionally made it a little difficult to nail down what his sexuality is. He was kind of everything, but he was definitely queer. And Bowie is, Bowie's Bowie.
All right. Number 1 for me, it could be the band. It's Queen. I like the idea that it's similar to I'll tie it back into Survivor here, that you have someone that was so confident in themselves that they're like, you know what? I'm going to make a stadium rock song because I definitely see myself packing a stadium full of people and having them all sing along and clap and do, like, just play along with my song. And it really happened repeatedly.
Yeah, Queen is
So,
one I thought
Queen
of
is my number one.
Consider Queen. And honestly, you just say Freddie Mercury because it's like absolutely Freddie Mercury. And frankly, like I feel like he's a big enough part of the band that if you just want to bestow it. But then I just like, I don't like how the surviving members of Queen portrayed Freddie Mercury's queerness in the movie about them. That it was like, that's what his downfall was, in part because they didn't want to portray how much the copious amounts of drugs they were all doing. It really, like, if you watch that terrible movie, it's like this guy's gone to too many gay sex parties and that's why he's falling apart. No, yeah.
Well, I hate to spoil this for you, Andy, but I have not seen that movie.
So it's almost like you don't get to say that, Queen. Freddie Mercury, though, definitely. But my number one.
All right. Oh, yeah, hang on. Before you say it, I feel like I know what this should be. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to be severely disappointed and feel like I don't know you at all.
Okay. It's
No. Go ahead and say it.
Tegan and Sarah.
I don't want to take it from you.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what I was waiting
prompt,
for.
like if it was like top 3, bands, they're probably on that list for me. I have got all their stuff. I watched like their TV show. I'm not only from the city they're from, I'm from the neighborhood they're from. Now I don't know them. I didn't know them. They're like a couple years younger and they went to public school and I went to Catholic school, but it's like, that's like pretty crazy that like one of my favorite bands grew up within like a 10-minute radius of me. I've seen them live so often. I don't even know how many
playing in a garage
because they tend to do their hometown on their tours. So that's on my list. Again, another list you guys can do in comments.
Yeah. I would have been genuinely mad if they
honestly,
I
that's
figured they
probably why I like what we're doing this list because it's like I'm just gonna talk about Tegan and Sarah. So
Yep. All right. Let's hit another fan mail thing here. Hey dudes,
hey, Ben Folds
I'll
fan.
out myself as Ben Folds fan. Speaking of outing, I wanted to lay out what I think would be a very interesting way for Survivor 46 to end. What if it's a final 3 between Charlie, Kenzie, and Ben, and somehow Charlie and Kenzie are tied 4-4. In this scenario, it all comes down to Ben, who has the really tough choice of voting for either his longtime Sega ally or the person who helped him through panic attacks. That'd be insane drama. And if that scenario happens, please look at my Fantasy League teams to see how little information I had. I want to point out, this was sent days before the episode ended.
Yeah, obviously not a question. Just, you got close enough that you deserve to get called out. That was a great job.
Like, shout out. You were so close. So yeah, there's not much to say about it. We were just impressed that, like, damn, look at him.
All right, and then the
one.
final question we're going to get to here. This one came in like right after I think our podcast, and it's kind of it's a slightly evergreen, but I think it's worth talking about real quick because we never did throughout the whole season. Question about the infamous episode 1 Matt chat where Jeff said, "There is only one of you who has no chance of winning," or no, not only there is one of you who has. Yeah. That's important clarification. No chance of winning, no matter what you do. How is that comment considered prescient since the season hadn't started when Jeff said it? Was it based on psychological testing done before the shooting aired? I just want to quickly address it. It's just a generic, could be said literally any season in the history of the show. It wasn't specifically about one person. It's just the truth of Survivor. So, I mean, for one, everybody but one loses, so it's really easy math to predict anybody has no chance to win. No, it can be fucked up. You could come out of one episode of Survivor and say somebody has no chance to win, and they could. I don't know. I've heard about it.
Can you imagine?
It just seems like a thing, but no, it's a horoscope type genericism. Like, oh wow, you really nailed that one. It's like, yeah, it always happens.
Right. This is just always true. So this wasn't even a prediction in any way. He was just letting them know, like, some of you are really confident and there's just no way you're going to win.
Yeah. And it's like, could be that specific person has fatal flaws to prevent it. But sometimes it's like, doesn't matter what you do, the way that this game will shape up, you'll be in a scenario where you have no chance to win. And that, again, happens always.
Every time. Yep. All right. Let's wrap this thing up. It's been a fun season. I want to shout out quickly, I mentioned last week that I forget sometimes that our audience is much wider.
Yeah, we got a comment about that too. Sorry that we didn't write it down, but yeah.
Yeah. I do forget that, we have a much wider audience. I said that last week, but I should focus on the fact that we do have a really awesome group of commenters. They helped us out with like getting some screenshots and things like that for this season's posts. And just generally, they're a fun bunch of people to talk about Survivor with. And they make me do fantasy league posts, which take up my time. And I'm like, you know what? It's for people that I enjoy. So thank you guys for being our audience and interacting with us and making us still talk about Survivor 10 years in. Cannot fucking believe that.
Yeah, I'll just really quickly edit that too. Like, we have no plans of how long this is ever going to go. As we've said many times, this is only a hobby. There's no business here. We make nothing. It costs money. We do it because it's fun. And the commenters on our site and now this fan mail stuff helps add to that fun. It's just like a fun time. And that's, I think it's been better for us once we got to that part. It's like, what's fun? That's all we care about. When we're figuring out what we're going to talk about, when we figure out what we do, is it fun? Yes, no. Yes, then do. No, then don't do. Thanks for everybody.
Which is why we end up with these super niche NBA references.
And like, other niche references, because it's like, honestly, one person would be like, yeah, I got that, and we're like, yes.
I made a joke a week or two ago that was specifically for just you and Matt.
Yeah, I thought we'd get one more person I had my mind on. It's one specific person that might have referenced it. Man, it's like, that's fun for us. So thanks for everybody who keeps it fun. Thanks for everybody who comments with that kind of same framework, that it's like, we're here to have fun. And if you're not, then I think we've created now an environment. Before, we used to do it a little bit antagonistically. I'm actually glad that we've moved away from that, especially myself. I don't think it was good and healthy the way I was doing it. So now it's just everybody's here, like, we're here to have fun, and like people that aren't kind of easily fade away pretty quickly.
Yep. Somehow, like, without very much moderation on our comments site, we've just ended up with a good group that does not require me going through and actively moderating anything. It's kind of great. I appreciate you all not making me do work in that respect.
All right. So like, we'll be back in like September-ish or something. I'll check the date. So it's a while. Yeah. Comment on this post. One question I do have is, like, on the one hand, it's like the top 3 thing was just because of this season. It began as a joke, like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we did Taylor Swift? And then I think it became a fun thing. I'm okay if we leave it as the gimmick of this season, but if other people are like, hey, just keep it going. I kind of like how like ridiculous we got with it. I like that, like, we have to sometimes work to find an opinion of 3 things on certain things, but we're like, whatever, we're doing it. We're going to find it instead of like picking things that we were passionate about. So let us know in comments if like you want us to keep it going, or maybe, special thing every once in a while, or if, it served its purpose and it's time to move on. I haven't decided either way on that, so I'm interested in feedback on that.
Yeah. Similarly, like, I'm down to do it again, but I'm also down to move on to some other stupid gimmick that
I enjoyed, because we used to do gimmicks, and then the show stopped doing gimmicks, so we did too. It's kind of fun that something kind of organically came about, because it's always kind of fun, just like a little extra thing at the end of the podcast. So.
Yep. Organic, like Eartha Kitt in an airplane bathroom. All right, Andy. Let's hit the theme music for one last time.
This is the copy.
The following is a public service announcement. Hidden idols may be redeemed only when presented to your host. If you or a loved one has found a hidden idol, please play it immediately. We now return you to your program, already in progress. Oh, it's already over. Well, we'll see you next season. Good night.